My name doesn't translate into English at all, so this was perfect. Thank you all for being here. I know it's a super packed day, and we just had 3 very long sessions, so I hope energy is high, and if not, that I can help with that. I'll very briefly start with one comment. So I know the paper version of your calendar of today says that this session is done by Adam Joseph, which is not me. So if any one of you is very disappointed by that, I won't hold it against you if you want to leave, but I would prefer that you stay. And Adam is around here somewhere, so feel free to catch up with him later if you want. Thank you for coming. A little bit about me. A lot of it was already said. So I did originally want to be a pastry chef and then ended up in UX design and marketing and customer success. This is the circle of life. So that's what you do. I live in Amsterdam, but I would have actually preferred to live in New York because I love New York. But unfortunately, that is not an option right now. I joined Insighted in 2018. You just said Insighted by Gainsight, which is a mouthful. We got acquired in January by Gainsight, so we now have to say Insighted by Gainsight, so I will try to. And I have pretended to know about customer success ever since I joined Insighted. I think for multiple reasons. So one is imposter syndrome. LinkedIn is addicted. We all need more followers on LinkedIn. So do I. So I started talking about customer success. But also because I fell in love with the customer success community. And I think this event is one of the proof points there of how amazing that community is. And then what you need to know about me is that I'm very last minute, chaotic. I don't know if Shay's here in the room. He's organizing this event. I have been making his life hell for the past 3 years that we've been sponsoring this event. So anything is super late, but I'll try to do my best anyway. Threw some slides together. We'll see if we can get through them. Very briefly, won't bore you too much with this, about Insighted by Gainsight. We build communities, customer communities for SaaS companies and their customer success teams. So companies like Sprout Social or Gong and all of the other logos on there, they basically are trying to get all of their customers together, engage in a valuable, measurable way, product feedback, everything else that you've heard being talked about in the past few days. Starting with the real thing. So I want to preempt this talk by starting to talk about growth. And most people know growth as this, right? Growth is amazing. It's what we all need in SaaS. We all want the 300 million funding rounds and then do like 10x whatever, multiples up in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and then talk about it as well, because it's also our kind of measure of how successful we are, right? And I think for a customer success manager, this story is very different, and it doesn't often get talked about, because I think growth, barring the financial side, which looks very pretty, can also be a pain in the ass, because growth also means more customers more quickly. There's more money, but also you need to scale your organization more quickly. It can also be very difficult. So I'm going to try and illustrate that point by comparing growth, and especially from a customer success perspective, to marriage. Now, before I do so, who here is married? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, so a lot of people, damn. I do want to make sure that you realize that this is not me commenting on your marriage. It's probably great. It's probably amazing. This is me being a Dutch person. We don't get married ever. Just commenting on marriage from my very, very non-experience. So, your marriage probably started with a honeymoon, and so does our story. You might remember your honeymoon period as a customer success manager, right? You're still a small company. You have 10 customers, maybe 5 customers. You know all of them by name. You have all the time in the world to talk to them, be proactive. You know everything that's going on in their business. If there is an issue or you need to basically get something done within your product, you still have a product manager that shows up on every call. They come with you. They answer all of the difficult questions. Great. Nothing was stressful. There was no need for CS. You could be reactive, which is very nice. Still focus on product market fit, and basically no budget at all. But it doesn't matter, because only growth counts at this stage. Everything is fine. But then you progress. So then you get to a point where you realize that you're actually married. It starts sinking in. You actually tied the knot. This means that in business terms, the pace of customers is actually increasing. So you're getting more and more customers to come in, and you're starting to realize that you actually need to do some stuff and need to structure things. So maybe you need dedicated support reps, or you need a process, or I don't know, a Google Sheet that actually makes sense and is used by multiple departments or something crazy like that. Product also starts getting less involved in this stage, right? Because they're also very busy with all of the requests and all of the feedback and trying to do their own roadmap, right? You set up ticketing, internal processes with other departments, everything. So it starts getting a little bit more stressful. You've realized that you're now married for life, in this case, I would say. Next phase, you start getting a lot of feedback about your relationship. This starts happening, I don't know, after honeymoon, I think. I'm not married, so I don't know. But this means that you struggle to linearly keep up with company growth. So company growth is actually outpacing your capability to actually continue to do things the way you were used to. So you get a bigger, dedicated CS team, hopefully. One-on-one support needs to transition to one-to-many sometimes. You cannot find the time in the day to talk to everyone. You want to become proactive, which I know is a difficult subject in customer success because we all want to, but what is it actually and how do you do it? Product forgot you ever existed. Product is no longer on any call or doesn't care about talking to you. And onboarding and education and everything else starts taking priority because you need to get things done before you actually have to talk to customers. And finally, you notice that your CFO has amazing eyebrows, because those are the things that will be raised whenever you walk into their office asking for an extra hire or money or anything else, which is nice, CFOs with great eyebrows. And then finally, and I don't want to call this divorce, because there's probably a phase before divorce. I don't know, you can work things out, go to a therapist or something else. But then you get to a point where you need efficiency and scale to actually stop things from breaking, because it's going so fast if you're lucky. There's so many customers that if you don't do something differently, you're going to break, because customers are piling in left and right. You actually hopefully need to get dedicated CS tooling in place, or you already have it, which would be great, because then you can actually start being more efficient from the get-go. Processes are defined, but you're realizing that they need to be more efficient even. What you've thought up right now doesn't work anymore. You start hating the eyebrows of your CFO now, because literally your CFO laughs in your face now when you ask for more money, because it's no longer scalable or efficient or looks bad on company balance. Onboarding starts to hurt, support starts to hurt, productivity doesn't exist. You're thinking about career options, probably transitioning somewhere else like product marketing or so. It's very hot right now. So, and you start segmenting as well, and I see this often, to hide workload, right? Let's put everyone in the SMB pile, because they don't need our help. It's going to be okay. They don't pay enough to get our help. Basically, some things about your significant other really start to annoy you. What you're realizing is that growth actually looks like this, because it's crazy hard. I mean, everyone wants it. It's awesome, but to get there is painstakingly difficult and requires a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So we call this the scale problem, and I think a lot has been said about this. And what's great for us is that it's universal. Every company struggles with this at some point, because there's no way that you can build anything in advance or everything in advance and make sure that you're ready for everything. So the problem that we're outlining here is that companies plan for growth, they plan for valuations, raising money, but they plan for nothing else. And that's our job in CS, right? We need to make sure that we do. So basically, everything's on fire, but we did hit our ARR goals. Salespeople are getting paid on their commission plans. Everything is beautiful. But the rest of the company is on fire and is having problems. Yeah, the other one is another comment on the CFO, which I'll leave for now. And the other thing that we start doing then is we start aiming for bad efficiency. So you've probably all had the discussions about how much ARR or how many accounts a CSM is supposed to be able to handle. Like you're this, I don't know, stretched machine. And if you got 35 and it's supposed to be 45, you're bad as a CSM, right? These conversations literally go nowhere. This is just trying to be smart in an Excel sheet, and that's literally all where it works. So we don't want to do that. We do want to solve it, though. And to solve it, we need to make a transition. And I don't know if this is a transition, but I'll pitch it as a transition for now, and you can decide for yourself. But basically, we need to go from where we're now, which is CSM empowerment and shoving everything in the CSM space, the everything department, right, as Raf Dhaliwal once called it, which I think is still the best way to coin what's going on. and go to like a 50-50 model at least of CSMs being great at what they do and being efficient and having all the tools they need to basically make sure that they're as successful as possible. But also, your customers need to be able to chime in, right? They need to be able to also be successful, be better with your product, and it needs to be frictionless, efficient, and doesn't always have to require your CSM. Now, this is not a new thing. Some of you probably are like, oh yeah, sure, this is very normal, because this is kind of like the self-service concept, which has been around forever. I listed like 2012, and not sure what I mean with that, but there was probably a research in 2012, and then also Forrester is still talking about this. They still do all of these reports on self-service and everything else. It's basically what we want as well, right? As people, we also don't want to call someone for every tiny little thing that we want to do. We want to be working in a product and then just be able to continue because we have all of the information that we need to actually do our thing. And then, I don't know, there's so many reasons why people say like this is not a thing, right? Because it's very our product is very technical, right? Our CSM needs to be there because it's very, very difficult. Or it hurts the customer experience if I'm not there. It's kind of like an ego play. I don't know if this is a CSM thing or something else, but I need to be there because otherwise customer experience goes down the drain. And then finally, for the rest of the company, if we don't speak to our customers, we're losing control. So there's going to be churn in 3 months, right? Because we haven't talked to them in 3 months, and while they're successful, there could be something around the corner, and they leave. It's all valid points in some way or form, but I think you need to have more faith in your customers. So we propose or have proposed to do things differently. So instead of thinking that all of your customers want one-on-one contact, actually start realizing that they don't, and embrace customers that want to be self-sufficient and that can be actual like professionals or experts with your product. Like valuable content not reaching customers. We all know the customers that don't respond to anything, right? Give them extra options, contacts, content, different channels to be able to reach them and have them do it themselves. Fragmented online experiences to like 8 logins and several Okta portals and whatever that your customers need to go through. Terrible process. Like internal to customer communities, engagement only to fluid engagement, and high touch and everything else. I don't believe I can call it tech touch, actually. I think that's a bad word. Can I? I don't know. I've been told that tech touch is now like a way to cover segmentation. But I don't know. Digital-led engagement, let's call it like that, or scaling human touch. Quite simple. I always explain it like this. So I hope everyone has does everyone have a CS platform here? I see a lot of nodding heads. Hey, well done. So that's the place where your CSMs log in and they know what to focus on, what accounts they need to target, how their accounts are doing, who's responded where they need to focus their efforts. Basically, that's the place where they become more efficient and better at their jobs. But what you also need is the same place or a system or a platform or whatever, where your customers can actually go and log in, find all the information, educational materials, everything else that they need to do it themselves, like community knowledge base, whatever, everything that you can think of. So at the core of all that, I think there should be a fully digital strategy. And a fully digital strategy means for any customer, not just the SMB segment, but all of them, even your 7-figure deals. They are also just people like you and I, even if they make more money, probably, than we do. But they still use digital channels and they still want to do their own thing. So we can give it a name. And there are so many. So there's like Customer Success 2.0, Tech Touch, Scaled Customer Success, Digital Journeys, Low Touch, Pooled CS. I love that one because that's been showing up lately. Online Service and Support, Lifecycle Marketing. I mean, there are so many different names. But at the very core of it, what it is like a data-backed thing online. It's nice, right? We can measure everything. So a data-backed thing or methodology that you can actually use to create value for your customers through different channels than just your CSM. Preferably personal, because also going digital gives us a lot of options to do things differently for any customer, which is nice. And it's indirect, because it doesn't always require you as a CSM to be a part of the conversation. You can steer the conversation by being involved, but you're not always a part of it. And just very briefly what it isn't, it's not a way of segmenting lower ACV customers. Stop doing that. They're important as well. It's for everyone. It's not a way to mass communicate regular things or vendor touch points. I think Christy actually touched upon it yesterday or something, like we have a way of automating things and check-ins and touch bases that we would like to do. It's also not that. It's not a way to automate everything, because you shouldn't automate everything. It's not a cheaper marketing channel, sorry for your marketing department. And it's also not a replacement for CSMs, because CSMs are still important. You cannot fire them just because you have a website. What it looks like. It's clear, right? I think. So I've included this, even though it's a lot, because I also want you to think about it as a lot, in the sense that it's more than just an email campaign or certain things that you do through Gainsight, ChurnZero, or PlanHat based on your health score or something else. Having a true digital strategy across the board is a lot more, right? It requires you to do digital CS and automate those emails and whatever, one-to-many CS, office hours, right? Gain, Grow, Retain office hours. Everyone probably attended one. Definitely a part of it. But it's also a digital product experience. It's also like an in-app experience and educational content and whatever in your product, so that people don't have to leave when they're trying to do things. Walkthrough, onboarding, all those kinds of things that tools like WalkMe and everything else do. And it's digital engagement, which I would classify as community, obviously, because I'm biased, but it's only one thing of it. So it is building a thriving community and getting all of your customers together to share best practices with each other, because they are the ones that are feeling the same pains on a daily basis, right? You're not that person. You probably know what they are, but you can't really express what they're going through on a daily basis. They need to do that together. Integrated knowledge bases, adoption, learning programs, education. It's all of that. It's across the board. So if you want to do a digital strategy, please do it well. Don't only do digital emails and then in the next QBR, or I don't know what you call your internal management meetings, probably not a QBR, but something else, report that the emails haven't done that well and we still need more CSMs. So that's not a digital strategy. Then, I don't know, we can't call it a journey anymore. I've been told yesterday. So it's what was it, a life cycle?
I said life cycle.
It's digital life cycle orchestration. And then you have your CSMs, and if they're in a pooled model or anything else, they still belong in the same thing. And then you have your data model, right, beneath that, like all of the data that you need to cover, NPS, NRR, ARR, all of those kinds of things. And a beautiful piece in CSOps. So to me, if you do a digital strategy well, it's all of this. You need to go for everything. So a couple of things to add on to that. So it's adding to, not replacing with. So basically, by adopting a digital strategy, you're not replacing anything that you're already doing, because you're probably doing the right things, and to the right customers, they're still super important, but you're adding to, so you're getting extra options to do. So you can, I don't know, one-to-many training modules, video EBR, success plan alignment that's digital, I don't know, community-driven feedback. You're getting all these new channels and new ways of actually talking to your customers, engaging with them, that you didn't have before. And it's a new, basically you're also giving your CMs new tools to engage, to also give them the confidence that they know what's going on at their customers and that there has been engagement in one way or form, even if they haven't been able to reach them on a QBR or haven't invited them to a QBR because the QBR were pointless. So throughout the phases, throughout the whole life cycle, you get different kinds of things, right? Like when they're onboarding, invite them to the community immediately, introduce them to a bunch of their peers that are in the same industry or at the same stage of maturity for their company, or maybe in the same role, just very simple. Like you're also a VP of Customer Success, well, we have 30 here, talk to them. They know what you're going through. You can have a central location for all of your content and point them to that, right? Which also helps if you do that at the beginning of the journey, because if you teach them to go to a CSM, they will always go to a CSM. If you give them options from the get-go, that you will see that some of them will choose a different option. Talk to them, collaborate on roadmaps, get product back, right? We just talked about product being disengaged from everything. Get them back in there, show them that they're getting data-backed, like reliable feedback, and get them to be part of the conversation. And this also hopefully helps solve the relationship issues between product and CS, right? It's going to be a triangle instead of like two one-on-one conversations and then a translation thing in between, which never really works well. Subscribe them to online events, points. You can even go to swag, like t-shirts and crazy things. Participate in beta tests, which, by the way, I think is very strong for adoption. Definitely a play that you should consider. And the good thing about a digital strategy and online is that it keeps getting better. So you start somewhere, you get the data back, you, I don't know, do some number crunching, whatever you want to do. And then you figure out that it's working or it's not. You make changes and you go again. And fortunately, at some point, you'll find a model that works for you. And then you even keep improving that. It's going to be better and better. You're going to get feedback after feedback. You're going to implement that feedback and continue to grow. It stays a continuous circle, which I think is amazing about a program like that. And you're confident about what you're doing because you have the data to show for it. So, as I'm biased, as I just said, what about community? I'm not going to talk a lot about community, but it helps you orchestrate durable growth, in my humble opinion. So, durable growth, I should have mentioned at the beginning, to me is growing efficiently at a pace, scalably, that doesn't kill one part of your organization, whether it's the finance department, the customer success department, something else. Basically, you're growing in a way that you're default alive as a SaaS company. You've probably heard default alive. I don't know if any of you was at SaaStr last week, but this was I'm not going to claim every, but a lot of presentations at SaaStr actually were talking about being default alive, right? This being the metric that you now need to actually confidently raise money. So in order to be default alive, you also need to make sure that there's a bunch of stuff that you can do that doesn't require you to hire like crazy. So in my opinion, community or a customer hub, as we're about to call it, still mixing a little, is connected to everything. It has all of your content. It has all of your departments of your company. It has all customers. Customer success health scores is tied into your CM, into your CS tool, your CRM, your journey orchestrator, everything else. And it helps you drive digital engagement. So in our humble vision, a customer hub literally encompasses everything that you can do online. It's all part of the same hub, one login, one place that your customers go to find whatever they need. And then it's even inside of your app. Like I just said, you need to give people the content and education that they need when they're working with your product. You don't need to get them to escape your product, to go onto your website, type in a search query in a search bar, and spend 45 minutes finding an answer, because they're not going to go back to your product. They're going to be distracted. And that powers some real results, right? I'm not going to go through all of them, but like across support, success, advocacy, connection, feedback, it powers all of the results, all of the activities, metrics, self-service ratios, NPS, anything, event attendance, group membership, referrals, references, reference calls, I don't know, ideas and votes, how much they're worth. It's also a good example that I always like to use is doing product feedback through a community and tying it into your CRM. If you have a feature request on a community or another platform, tie it back in your CRM, you actually know the people that voted on it or backed the request or something else, you know how much ARR they're worth or what health score they have. This can help you in prioritization. You need to use that data to also make your product department smarter, I guess, and make better decisions instead of just focusing on vision, right? Because vision is often also different. And it's centralized, so it needs to be the center of all your information, centralized in your tech stack. The good thing about CS now is that a lot of tools are being built for CS and for CS professionals. So we used to only have the CS CRM, right? And now we have tools like Cost.app and everything else. They're even automating QBRs and sending videos specific to personas and everything else. Love that tool, definitely check it out. I predict that there's going to be so many more in the next year or 2 years. And they should all be connected in some way or form. I've actually got time for questions. Thank you. Thank you. I saw a hand.
So, thinking about your one unified customer hub, do you see a problem that can exist where an individual who works for one of your customers for 3 or 5 years or whatever and generates a community presence in that hub, leaves their employer and moves to a different one of your customers?
No. This is the primary concept of community, right? It's like around building a sense of belonging, and you as an individual, as a professional, feeling like you belong in that community platform, in that group of people, and that transcends a job. I think it was, what's her name again? I think it was Holly Firestone from Venafi, always pronounce that wrong, that talked about this at a conference somewhere last year. And she basically said, and I agree with her, is you're a professional, you're a person that is part of a community, you're using that community to get better at what you're doing, whether it's using a product or being a CS professional and learning new things from I don't know, other people, other peers. And if you leave, I think the best thing that shows success from a community perspective is that person then still stays in the community and keeps participating because it helped them as a professional.
I'm probably being more cynical because I'm
Oh.
thinking from the point of view that in your hub, that supposing they're working for Bank A,
Yeah.
John Smith working for Bank A acquires entitlements to products and services bought by Bank A through your hub.
Yes.
He leaves and moves to Bank B. How do you stop him taking advantage of products and services that his previous employer is paying for?
I mean, if you really want to.
That's a problem
True.
I see. I'm just wondering if it's something
Yeah.
to consider.
Yeah, so I'm also going to be cynical. So I don't think there's a lot of stuff in a community that could actually be considered dangerous if someone moves to a different bank. But if you really wanted to, you can do like private customer advisory board sections, right? And if someone's no longer a customer, they cannot access those sections. But honestly, probably everything, at least about SaaS products, most competitors know about each other's SaaS products. There's not really any. We've all done like a mock demo in the past, right? Where you pretend to be someone else, call them, and then sit there being someone that's actually interested in your competitor's product. Yeah.
Let's go for one more question.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Helen from Tractic, also live in Amsterdam.
Nice.
And
Where?
as I'm in the East.
Best neighborhood. Well done.
So I think our company's hesitation with the community is that the conversation might become a bit negative about the product
Yeah.
among our clients. And is there a way to prevent that?
No, you need to embrace it. Embrace it, because the way you handle that negativity and help out those customers that are being negative that's gonna basically rub off and show to everyone else in your community. And it's only gonna add to the trust of all of the other customers that are reading those conversations and perhaps are already positive or are still debating or whatever. It's just gonna show that you're serious about handling their feedback. So and this is like an ancient thing in community world, even when Insighted was only doing telco communities, and we've all complained about our telco subscription, right? Either the phone's dead, there's no reception, it's too expensive, whatever. So those communities were infested with negativity, and the only thing the teams there needed to do was basically handle each problem and handle it with care and be nice about it, and that would then lead to feedback and responses of actually people being showing gratitude for that, which only does, I think, wonders for the rest of the community.
So one follow-up question. Who usually drives that response, like engine within a business? Is that the support team? Is it the product team? Like what resources do you use to
We mostly see the customer success team, and then sometimes there's a community manager as a part of that team. But we also see product, customer marketing. Sometimes there's an actual support department, but I think mostly in SaaS there's no support department. It's all part of customer success. But we mostly see those three teams.
Thanks.
You're welcome. We're out of time.
I think we are right on time. So thank you very much. I do have a question for the audience. And
Oh, yeah.
woohoo! Thank you. Who feels empowered to go back to your organization saying, I have such a great idea how we can scale? Renko, this was really awesome. You gave us so many great content. Thank you for that.
Thank you.